Hello everyone, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome back to the Nerdivergent channel. I am your host, Nerdivergent. Full spoilers ahead, and I mean full. If you haven't seen Superman the movie 1978, pause this, go watch it, come back. It's 143 minutes of pure cinematic joy, and it's worth experiencing fresh. Today we're doing a deep dive spoiler review with production stories, behind the scenes trivia, interview quotes, and what critics were actually saying in 1978. We'll laugh at some of the dated bits, cheer at the moments that still slap, and talk about why this film remains the gold standard for Superman on screen nearly 50 years later. Now, let's get into it. This movie almost didn't happen the way we know it. The Salkid producers, Alexander and Elia, originally wanted a campy, cheap parody. The first draft by Mario Puzo of The Godfather was apparently so silly that Superman was basically hunting bald guys in Metropolis and running into Kojak. Richard Donner, fresh off the massive success of The Omen, got the call while on the toilet. Hungover, he thought it was a prank. It wasn't. Donner's mantra on set was verisimilitude. He wanted the world to feel real even when a man in a cape was flying around. He brought in Tom Mankiewicz, creative consultant, undercredited on screen for a while, to rewrite everything into a sincere love story with heart. Make a love story, Donner told him, and prove a man can fly. The budget? A then staggering $55 million. That's $323 million in today's money for 2 movies. They tried to shoot Superman and Superman 2 back to back. It turned into a 19-month nightmare. Donner was eventually fired from the sequel. Richard Lester took over and reshot a ton. But that's a story for a different video. Casting Christopher Reeve was a gamble. He was a tall, skinny, and unknown stage actor. Casting director Lynn Stalmer suggested him. Donner initially said no. Too young, too thin. Reeve's screen test changed everything. He gained serious muscle training with David Prowse. Yes, Darth Vader himself. He went from around 188 pounds to 212 pounds. He earned just $250,000 for both Superman films combined. Meanwhile, Marlon Brando got $3.7 million for roughly 12 days of work, plus a percentage. On his first day, Brando suggested they roll the camera during rehearsal because, who knows, we might get lucky. They did. That take in the first movie. Reeve later said in interviews that Brando was basically phoning it in, and it shows. Classic Hollywood. Reeve overdubbed the voice of young Clark, played by Jeff East, in post-production. East tore his thigh muscles during the train running stunt and wasn't thrilled about the voice swap at the time, but they patched things up years later. Other fun trivia. Donner has a cameo as the skeptical guy talking to Clark right after Superman's first public appearance. Margot Kidder stopped wearing her contact lenses on set because Donner loved her wide-eyed, wondrous look without them. John Williams' score, absolute masterpiece, and he basically invented the modern superhero theme sound. We open on the dying planet Krypton. Marlon Brando's Jor-El sentences the 3 villains, including Terrence Stamp's Zod, setting up the sequel, and then sends his infant son Kal-El to Earth in a crystal spaceship. Brando brings that Shakespearean gravitas, even if he was half checked out. The crystal architecture and cold lighting still look striking. Cut to Smallville. Glenn Ford and Phyllis Thaxter, Martha, give Clark the perfect, wholesome, loving upbringing. The scene where young Clark races the train is pure wonder, and that stunt work was no joke for Jeff East. Jonathan Kent's death, a heart attack while changing a tire then racing Clark, is simple, quiet, and devastating. It teaches Clark he can't save everyone, no matter how powerful he becomes. Reeve's reaction, that mixed grief and quiet acceptance in the voiceover, is already showing the depth he'd bring to the role. Reeve himself said in a 1978 interview with Gene Siskel, the key word for him is inspiration. He is a leader by inspiration. Basically, he's a pacifist. He stands on the sideline until there is real trouble. That philosophy is baked into every scene. He goes north to build the Fortress of Solitude. This is where he meets his holographic father for the first time. He spends years learning, and when it's all done, we get the scene where you'll believe a man can fly. Adult Clark arrives in Metropolis looking like a farm boy who wandered into the big city. He gets the job at the Daily Planet. Jackie Cooper's Perry White is gruff perfection. Margot Kidder's Lois Lane is electric, ambitious, sarcastic, fearless, and already half in love with the idea of Superman before she even meets him. Their chemistry is instant and natural. The scenes in the newsroom where Clark is bumbling and Lois barely notices him are comedy gold. Then she starts noticing Superman. Gene Hackman's Lex Luthor is one of the all-time great comic book villains. Charming, theatrical, vain, and completely convinced of his own genius. His plan, full spoilers, he buys a massive tract of worthless desert land. He's going to launch a nuclear missile at the San Andreas Fault, trigger a massive earthquake, and sink California into the ocean, turning his new beachfront property into prime real estate. Ned Beatty's Otis is broad comic relief. The guy is dumb as a box of rocks, but loyal. Valerie Perrine's Eve Tessmacher is smarter than both of them and eventually helps Superman because she doesn't want her mother in Hackensack to die in the disaster. The layer scenes with the henchmen and the model of Metropolis are peak 70 villains fun. Lois is riding a helicopter on the roof of the Daily Planet building. Something goes wrong. Lex's sabotage or just bad luck? The chopper plummets, people scream, and then whoosh, Superman appears. A man on the street says, "Say, Jim, that's a bad outfit." And Superman replies, "Excuse me." This is the heart of Superman. He is polite even when in a rush. He catches the helicopter midair, saves Lois and the pilot, and gently sets it down. The effects, Zoptic front projection, and careful compositing were state-of-the-art and expensive. That whole sequence was a huge technical achievement for 1978. Christopher Reeve sells every second with pure confidence and zero irony. Right after, Donner's cameo guy is on the street going, "What the hell was that?" Perfect scene. At this point of the movie, everybody wants to know who Superman is, especially Lois Lane. We see Perry White giving a staff conference where he's going over the different headlines from other newspapers and asking questions about Superman in general. At which point, Lois reads a note and whispers to herself, "Tonight at 8, your place, hopefully a friend," which was the last thing Superman said to Lois just before he took off. Lois gets her one-on-one with Superman on her apartment balcony. She fires off rapid questions. He's earnest, charming, a little awkward, in the best way. Superman takes Lois flying over Metropolis at night. City lights below, her dress fluttering. That soaring John Williams theme. She's terrified, then exhilarated, then completely smitten. The inner monologue, "Can you read my mind? Do you know what it is that you do to me?" gets us to feel that she is fallen in love. And that emotion and the visuals carry it. It's romantic as hell. Christopher Reeve later reflected on the role, and I want to share 2 quotes with you that have always stuck with me. First, what makes Superman a hero is not that he has power, but that he has the wisdom and the maturity to use the power wisely. Second, and I'm paraphrasing a little bit, Superman is a friend, and that's what people really need most. They don't need a strong-armed, one-man vigilante force. They need a friend. You feel the wisdom in those words, and that he really wanted to bring that to the screen, and I think he absolutely delivered. I'm going to move us on to closer to the end of the movie, the big crisis and the ending. Lex watches the 2 missiles launch. Superman stops one and hurls it into space. The second one hits near the San Andreas Fault and triggers the earthquake. Chaos everywhere, dams bursting, buildings collapsing. Lois, driving to the scene, ends up trapped in her car at the bottom of a crevasse as the earth closes in. She dies. Superman arrives too late. He holds her body and lets out this primal, grief-stricken scream that still hits hard. Then he does the impossible. He launches himself into the sky with great grief and anguish. Knowing what he's about to do, he can hear the voice of his father Jor-El in the sky saying, "You must not interfere." And you can even see a silhouette of Jor-El in the clouds. Following through with his decision, he flies around the Earth at super speed, reversing its rotation and turning back time. He saves Lois and stops the disasters. The how is pure comic book logic and has been debated for decades. The why is pure Superman love, hope, and refusing to accept that someone he cares about has to die. Roger Ebert, in his glowing 1978 review, called the film a pure delight, full of adventure and romance, heroes and villains, earth-shaking special effects, and you know what else? Wit. He praised Reeve for selling the role completely and loved the scale of the finale. Pauline Kael in The New Yorker was cooler on it, calling it likable but disappointing, cheesy looking, and feeling like it was made in panic. She liked Reeve, but felt the effects and plotting didn't quite deliver the magic. Critics are allowed to be wrong sometimes. Why it still works. Christopher Reeve is still Superman for more than a generation. The way he plays both identities, the physical transformation, the voice shift, the posture, it's still unmatched. The scene where he changes in Lois's apartment, no costume change, just pure acting, is acting gold. This movie has heart. It believes in its hero. It's funny without being mean-spirited. The effects are dated, but the feeling of flight and power still work because Reeve and Donner believed in it, and it showed on the screen. Yes, the comedy with Otis is broad. Yes, the time travel ending is gloriously silly on a scientific level. But when Reeve's face fills the screen with that mix of determination, grief, and hope, you believe. Especially at the end, where it is that you see him flying above the earth, turning, and into the sunset. Beautiful. This is the movie that proved big-budget superhero films could be sincere, romantic, funny, and spectacular all at once. It set the template. Every Superman since has been measured against Christopher Reeve. I give Superman the movie 1978 a massive, heartfelt 10 out of 10. It's not perfect, but it's perfect for what it is, an earnest, hopeful, larger-than-life love letter to the character. What did you think of the ending? Does the time reversal still work for you emotionally, or does the logic bug you? And what's your favorite scene? The flight, the helicopter save, or something else? And who's your personal favorite Superman actor? Drop it all in the comments. Before you go, hit that like and subscribe and the bell so you don't miss the next one. I'm still chasing those 100 subs and every little bit of support helps. Check out my gaming channel, Nerdivergent 199 Gaming, link down in the description. Thank you for watching, folks. We'll see you at the next one, and up, and away. Take care.